I don't have a choice. I can't edit because it's live. So here we are. We're going to be showing how you script and develop. Because what's been going on? Well, my friends, we have been playtesting. And specifically, I've been playtesting the Sunken crypts. There have been changes, and they basically can fuel base building. We can make the Sunken crypt reset. If you take a look-see here, I can turn the UI back on, and anybody or a player could just build this, and then boom, look at that. You can make the Sunken crypts reset. So gone are the days where you absolutely have to find an area with a lot of dungeons. Now, if there's just one dungeon, you can come back and the dungeon is going to be different as well. We've made it so the interiors change, and I have more content about that. But there's a problem. Item in management. Oh god, looting these crypts is a pain in the... It's just horrible. So I'm going to be working today on something we're calling nonsense chests and nonsense carts. What are all those wolves doing there? Alright, well, I'm not in player mode right now, so that's not a problem. But this is where my players sleep, so I don't know what's up with that, but that's not nice. We're gonna move on here because what we want to do is address this base problem in Valheim of inventory management. And while we were streaming earlier, came up with an idea. Because what if we make a chest that's so deep you only need one? You're only allowed one per base, and it is a special chest because you can just place it, and then anything you put in it will not fill it up. You know, this cart, it's got a limit. This, limits. Limits, limits, limits. We're just surrounded by limits. So what I'm going to do today is develop this guy, pretty much. You see, if you use an obliterator in Path of Magic, you will notice, if you can... Oh no, this is a shield generator. Sorry, I was looking at the obliterator. My bad. How do I build it? Which one is it again? Yeah, it's over here. There we go. In Path of Magic, if you use an obliterator, it has an expanded inventory. So you see this? This is actually quite a lot of inventory space, right? But this isn't enough. You see, I want to make it as convenient as possible to everybody to have one special chest in every one of their bases where they can put as much stuff as they want. And I have a theory that this is going to free up the clutter experience. And we're also going to work on a version of that is a cart, which is only usable in the dungeon. All right? And I'm going to be live scripting this. So we're going to start from the very beginning, and I'm going to show you exactly what that process looks like. Something so cool about EWP scripting is that you can play Valheim while you do it. Because the console in Valheim allows you to look through all of the prefabs, and let's say you want to see, like, okay, what does this FX look like? Ah, it's abomination particles, and whoa, that's quite cool. That's pretty solid. So we see that it's like an engine to look at all of the effects in the game. Whereas normally you look at that and it's just a confusing list, and who likes walls of text? It's way easier to learn to script when you have the game running. So throughout this, I'm going to show you my live scripting process. And this is not a finely tuned thing. You know, it is what it is. I feel inspired about this, so let's get to it. The first thing we want to do is pull the data because we want to make a template. We want to make a chest that has the right amount of stuff, right? So what I'm going to do is just do what you would be able to do and find any basic thing in the game. In this case, let's look at a barrel. The barrels here are bigger than yours, but you know, that doesn't really matter. You do the same thing. You're going to go data equals, or no, sorry, data save equals, and then this barrel. It could be anything you want. You'll get a piece chest barrel data saved notification. And then we just have to open up our handy dandy situation here. And give me a moment while I find the right place. Because it goes into a specific location, and boom, we're going to reload that, and here we are. So this is a bunch of nonsense, don't worry about it. It'll append what you just saved to... There you go. It's right here. See what I'm looking at? Now, this has the fields in the right format. So in general, when you're making data, it's a good idea to use this to get exactly what you want. And we can see that this container is 4 high and 8 wide. So let's see, is that true? We have 4 high, 4 columns, and then we have 8 of these, right? So now that we know that, what about the obliterator we were showing you, or I was showing you earlier? Because if we open this up and we do the same thing, let's call it obliterator, or just whatever, it really doesn't matter. That's going to save the data. And then we can refresh the file just by closing it and then reopening it. Here we are. And going back to the bottom. Yours will be way, way less cluttered than mine. And we can see we have this barrel, but underneath that we have oblitar, which is what I lazily posted. And looky here, we can see that this has a container height of 17 and a width of 7. So if we look in it, we see... I didn't notice that before, but the width is lower. You can see that here. And then it's hard to count with the scroll bar, but there are 14 columns, so to speak, or rows rather, or 17 rows and 7 columns, right? So this is enough of an understanding that we can get started with our nonsense chest. First, let's be realistic, because we can't actually do infinity, but we can do something so big that it becomes very, very useful for this purpose. So what I'm actually going to do is go around and look at this. How much do we have? In general, each, let's say, container has how many rows? Because it's all about the rows. We're going to use the same amount here. We'll actually reduce it by 7, but I'm just getting a generalization for now. So we have 4 rows. Let's look at it as rows of storage. 4, 8, 12, 16. You know, this whole area, these 4 chests, this is 16-ish rows of storage. Then here we have another, 32 rows, 64 rows of storage, all of that stuff. Here, something that breaks the system. So I'd roughly double it and say 128 rows of storage is probably way more than a player really needs. And once they can really fill that up, I mean, that's crazy because, that's not quantity of items, right? That is actual, like, full on that many rows of stacks of items. You know what I'm saying? Absolute bonkers. So what we're going to go for is 128. I like that number too. And we're going to go for 7 because when you have the scroll bar, it's better to use 7 instead of 8 just because you give some room for the scroll bar. So we're going to go with 128. I think that's all right. That's all right for me. And now we have all this other stuff here. And to be honest, we don't need any of this. We can actually get rid of almost everything here. I'll show you. Let's see. We definitely need this, so that can all go away. Everything else. But what we want here are these parts. So, we don't need to have a real Steam ID here, but it's often better to make it have something. Because basically, if this has a value in it, then the game's going to think somebody created it. And so when you break it, you're going to get the resource cost of the thing that you built it with. Make sense? Have you ever noticed how if you demolish some stone in a spawned building, you don't actually end up getting it at the full cost to build it, right? You get a third of it or something like that, a small amount. And that's the same thing that'll happen if you just use data without a creator set. So in this case, we would want some random number here. It really doesn't matter. It's not important. And then this part where it says creator 0 and created, nah, you don't need any of that nonsense. That's all fine. All that we really care about is this stuff here. You know, we can have something like this here. Doesn't matter. I don't even know if both of these are important, in all honesty, but I'm going to leave it here just for the sake of it. And now we're looking at the name. You can see that this one is called the incineration bin. And if we look closely here, we can see the text incineration bin. This is the text that you'll see when you're looking at the container. So let's adjust it. We want to make it something like, instead of incineration bin, we want nonsense chest. You know, this is the nonsense chest beta, so to speak. So for now, that should be good. All we have to do is save this, and we're going to open this up. And now I can do data load equals, and then the name that we've been using, which was oblitar. There we go. You can tab to it. It'll actually load immediately as you save the file. And then boom, we reload the data of the object, and let's see what happened here. We already have a problem. Because I'm running this on Path of Magic, it replaces the incineration bins. So I'm trying to apply the data, which it's then replacing with the original incineration bin. So instead, I'm going to have to test this in an easier way moving forward. So give me a moment. I'm just going to start scripting. So here we go. This is our data, which we're going to need in order to set the file up. But for now, I'm just going to tab over, get rid of this, and start working right here. With most EWP stuff, you start like that, and then another part of it is going to be like this. You got the prefab script, which is one file, and then you have the data script, which is another file. I know it starts with name, but it's name of data. It's okay. You can remember, this is the format for a data file. You see this, you think data. You see that, it's prefab. All right? The prefabs are the rules, the laws, they make the stuff happen. The data is the references, the complexity, and the magic. And in this case, we already did the data. We made it there, so I can just copy and paste it into the data section so it can be referenced by the server. I know this isn't super easy to understand, but what I've been showing you, how I use those data load and data save commands, that's local stuff on this client because it has dev commands. It doesn't actually make the server look at that. This is sort of like your scratch pad. So this is the actual script I'm going to put on the server. This is the scratch pad, let's call it, your local data or whatever you want to do with it. And what we're going to do is do something real simple here. We already have this format set up, right? So all I need to do is make sure that it is spaced appropriately. In general, your stuff is pretty much always the same. You'll have this and then a space, and then everything else is 2 spaces below. Make sense? Easy? Yeah, it's awesome. So now we have our data, and I'm going to change it because this doesn't make sense. I'm going to name it the nonsense chest. That's it. Easy peasy. However, because of reasons that I know because of making this stuff before, we need a little bit more data. And we need to make a simplified version of this. So something that looks at one part of this script to check it so that we gain the ability to know, is there a nonsense chest here? And in order to do that, we'll make another data, and it's just going to be a little bit different. It's going to be the same thing, right? Except we're going to call it nonsense chest checker. Okay? Simple, simple. And the only thing it's going to look at is actually the height of the container, because that's the simplest form of data, an int. In general, the simpler the better for these checker things. So if possible, you want to use an int that's already there and never shows up anywhere else. I'm pretty confident nothing else has 128 container height in it. I mean, maybe, you know, who knows? A player could use a mod and have that exact circumstance come up, and maybe it trigger this script. I don't really know, but for now, we're going to act like nothing is going to make this happen. So we have our nonsense chest checker and we have our nonsense chest. You don't need to understand why we need both of these, but for now, that's our data file. Let's get that out of the way because it's going to confuse you. And what we want to work with is this prefab part. And this is where it might be confusing because yes, what we want to do is make players have a players have a chest, right? So the idea is simple. You see, players have preferences. Some of them might like a personal chest that no one else can get into. Other people might like a big and bulky fine wood chest, or a crazy spiky black metal chest. And I don't want to limit them anymore. So instead, we're going to give them the ability to just say this. They're going to go say nonsense, boom, and then it's going to target the closest chest to them. And then boom, there you go. It's going to make it the nonsense chest. So we'll have to do a couple things here because, all right, player is going to say something, right? And then, you know, we're going to look and find the nonsense chest. So we need to target some stuff. Yeah, you can wrap your head around that. Yeah, chew on that for a bit. And after we target some stuff, we're also then going to need to apply some data to some stuff. And then ask me this here. What about, well, I'll ask you this. What about if they try and make everything a nonsense chest? Because that sort of ruins the point, because then it's too much. Then none of the other limits matter anymore, and it would sort of negate things, right? So we need to make up a limit, and that limit is 1. They'll only be able to have 1 nonsense chest every some ridiculous amount. I don't know, what do you think? 300 meters? 200 meters? I have no idea, to be honest, but this is what we're going to start with. And then from there, we're going to escalate and we're going to make nonsense carts. You see, this is an ultra cart and these are fine. I don't want to negate these. Instead, I want to make it as easy as possible for players to loot the excessive amount of items in dungeons on Path of Magic. So here's the idea. We take the nonsense chest concept and anytime a player spawns a cart up high in a dungeon, we automatically make it a nonsense cart. So it's going to be like this, except with pretty much as much storage as they could possibly want. That way, they can lug it around the dungeon, protect it, and I have a feeling this is going to be some good stuff for people who don't even know about it. So let's get to it. First things first, we're going to open our script and open up our first prefab, which is going to be the player prefab. The reason we're doing this is because the player prefab has a very special type called say, where you can react to things that you say, like nonsense, yeah? So if the player says nonsense, it makes the thing go off. So we're going to go nonsense, just like that. And in this situation, I should probably show you what's going on. So when the player says nonsense, you know, we're going to spawn something. And what are we going to spawn? Well, let's be back in the game, and I don't know, let's find something fun. Spawn VFX. I don't know what shows up that's interesting. Let's, yeah, Carrion destroyed. That's boring, lame. Let's look at something. I don't know, maybe Ashland Gate destruction. There you go. That's oddly specific. Very, very, very specific. So there we go. Ashland Gate destruction. Boom. You see that? So that's going to happen when I say nonsense, right? Easy peasy. We found it, and in general, it's good to copy out of the game instead of trying to retype them. You're probably going to make a typo at some point, and then it's going to mess everything up, and you're going to have to look in the log and waste a bunch of time and lose your flow. So in this case, it's that simple. We're just going to take the player, and they're going to say nonsense. So all I have to do is update the script. This is currently in the ID, or in the development environment, so I'm going to put it on the server. And I'm making a new file, and the new file is called this, expand, prefabs, and then underscore the name that we're going to go with. In this case, we're going to go with nonsense chests. There you go, simple carts. There you go, easy peasy. Sometimes you want to make these more descriptive, because it's not like you have to reference it later. And we're going to make a file called this on our server in the expand world directory in the correct place. And I won't get too much into that right now because that's pretty simple stuff that we cover in a lot of the videos, and you're going to get very comfortable with it if you aren't already. So we're here, we made our file, and here we go. I'll try and remember, keep things visually changing, right? Makes it easier. And now that we're looking through this, I have loaded the thing here. Awesome. Now what we want to do is update it. 1 second. Okay, so sorry, I didn't have this set up already, but basically I need to have a notepad here open that is this stuff, so I can just grab it and put it in and then save it. And then I update the file, right? And then in the top left, sometimes you'll see the disconnection icon. But this was such a short script that I'm not sure that that is even going to happen, in all honesty. So for now, what we're going to do is go over here real quick. Give me a moment. Yeah, there we go. Nice. And what we're going to do is just test it. We should be able to say nonsense and something will happen. But see, nothing is happening. So it's possible that it's because I have ghost mode on, because I'm on the development profile. So let's see. I'm going to turn on God mode. And then turn off ghost mode, and then see. Ah, there we go. That's what it was. Because it doesn't really know you're there in some cases if you have ghost on, right? So there you go. We say nonsense, and then boom. Any other player on the server says nonsense, and then boom. Look at that. They get all of this. It's pretty easy to see, right? You say nonsense, that thing happens, okay? Except that thing happening could be pretty much anything else. So now let's complicate this a little bit and turn ghost back on, God off. And what we're looking for now is our actual scripty, our script, so to speak. I've shown you the demonstration, and this is the file name, right? That's what we're actually pasting into. But this isn't what we want to do. Instead, we need to start poking some stuff. And once you figure these pokes out, ooh, everything else moves forward from there. So the only thing I really recommend that you actually learn is the poke format. Because once you learn this by heart, oh, it really opens things up. And I remember it as, what is it? People love making pie. I think if I remember that right, it goes, what is it? It's like, no, it's not. Is it? I think it's, yeah. Ah, I remember. It's prefab. And then limits. And then max distance. And then parameter. Ooh. You see. That's the glory of the poke. Ooh. You don't know it yet, but you'll come to love these a lot. And now we can fill the things up. This is the beginning. You can call it the first half of the poke, okay? We're going to make the next part of the poke. This is the part that says, hey, make that poke happen. We're going to make another part. Let's set it up, actually. It's going to be right here. And it starts with prefab again, but don't be confused, okay? Because maybe you think it's supposed to be the same. No. It's actually going to be the same as whatever this is. You see the link? You got the poke, and you got the prefab, and you got the prefab. You see? Hey, Ford asked what language this is. I think this is called YAML scripting because they're YAML files. But honestly, I don't even know. I just think of it as Valheim EWP. But it's like, if you think of it as a scripting language, you're going to get too confused. It's more like a Valheim language. You need to know a lot about Valheim, and it'll work out. Hello, Star. Welcome as well. I'm glad you vaguely understand what's being said. That's awesome. This is the stuff that is the backbone of our server. So this poking thing, ooh, it's so great. And when you make a poke, basically it allows you to connect what you're doing here, the trigger, to something else, right? Because if you think about it, we're trying to say nonsense, and then boom, something happens to the chest, right? So right now we just say nonsense, nothing happens to the chest. Let's figure out how we can make this work. I'm actually just going to target a certain chest for now. So let's go with the basic wooden chest. All right. This one here, right? This is, I think, piece wood, but let me check real quick. I think it's piece chest, just piece chest. Oh no, the fine wood chest is piece chest, and this one is piece chest wood. Is that correct? Yeah, of course. Okay. I should have known. Piece chest wood. All right, so we're gonna target the piece chest wood, right? That means we have our prefabs. Woo! They have to be the same, otherwise you're gonna have problems. Now, let's also do the parameter part, because this honestly is like the most important part. This is the name of your poke, and your poke is sort of like the thing you can reuse. It's quite good, really. You want to get used to this. And you want to make the poke names very informative. In our case, we're going to target the chest to make it a nonsense chest, right? So in that case, Yummy Hammy says, turn the chest into a boat. I mean, that would be quite easy to do, actually. You want me to do that? Let's see. It's Viking ship, spawn, Viking, spawn, Viking ship. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so... All right, I'll humor you, and I'll stop what I was doing and do that. So we're gonna name it in this case, and you can't just connect it here. The prefabs are what it's gonna work on, but I haven't revealed the rest of it yet, because you need to declare that this is a poke, right? And then boom, we have the name of the poke. So now the connection is full. This is the name of the poke. Every time you call this, it's going to look for that name, and then it's going to do that thing as long as these two parts match. And you can add other prefabs, and we're going to do that later. But for now, we're poking the closest chest, and we're going to poke one chest, and the maximum distance for now is going to be 20. Okay? Easy peasy. Hey, Star had a good idea about getting the merchant boat. It's an interesting idea. I don't think it's valid, so it's really hard to use it unless you're using it completely cosmetically, because it doesn't like have the functioning components of the ship. So like I don't even know if it moves with the ocean, you know what I mean? But you might be able to use it in some way as like a building thing off of the land. I don't know. If I remember right though, there was an update where they got rid of that, unfortunately, or they like made it not work. Before I get sidetracked though, this guy Yummy Hammy asked to do it to the closest one. Yeah, so basically this part here is what determines that. And I'm showing you a simplified version of this. There's actually other parameters you can add, like min distance. You know, so if you want it to target something really far away, you could do that. And then make it like 10. So this wouldn't look at what you're next to. It would look at something that's within this min distance and that max distance. That's how you can lower it and make it target something else, right? In this case, though, we're just going to go with something simple. And I'm going to go for just the chest, one of them, max distance of 20, and the named poke. And in general, you should copy and paste this part. Once you write this, copy and paste it. Because otherwise, at some point, you're going to do like this. And then it's going to get all messed up. So don't mess with that too much. Here we have our wood chest. Everything's tied up. So now, whenever the player says nonsense, this stuff is going to happen. I don't need that spawn thing anymore, because there's no point for it. And we're humoring you, and we're changing the nearest chest into a ship. So now this is what the poke will actually do. First things first, we want to remove the prefab that got triggered, which in this case will remove the chest. And second thing is we want to spawn something. So in this case, we're just going to spawn a Viking ship, which is just Viking ship. Easy peasy. Now we should take this, and then as long as I didn't mess anything up, completely possible I did, we're just going to save it. I'm going to update the script file. And then now maybe we'll see the disconnection icon, because that's more than just one line. It's sometimes unnerving not seeing the disconnection icon, to be honest, because I'm like, well, did I wait long enough? And that's why it's good to add these little queue things. So you see how I can like make this leaf spawn? That's like the sign. That's the cue that you know that EWP is working. So now let's see what happens. We're gonna not do this in the middle of the base because that's probably a bad idea. Instead, we're gonna make a chest out here. Let's see, is it gonna work? We can just go there, and now we should just be able to say nonsense. Oh, hey, look at that. Chest turned into a boat. Oh, all right. Well, there you go. You happy? Your chest's a boat now. You're welcome. And that actually works, because, I mean, it illustrates the point, right? That's how it works. You can do a whole bunch of crazy magic. So I'm also kind of happy. I'm a bit smug with myself now because I scripted that properly, and this is the first time I'm live scripting. So that's exciting. But now you can see that, well, I want to get that to work, right? With the rest of the stuff, right? So, how should we do this, right? I'm going to start by targeting this, doing that, and really the only difference at this point, I don't want to spawn a Viking ship. No. That was cool. Don't get me wrong, that was very cool. But instead, we're going to just apply some data. Because you remember, well, we have this data earlier, right? I made this checker. I didn't say what that was, but it's a thing. And we have this thing, this nonsense chest. So instead of making it a boat, we can turn it into a nonsense chest. But first, I need to actually save this data to the server. Because right now, it's only on my local client. Like I said, this kind of save load thing is actually a, what's it called? A local thing. It's on your client, the scratch pad. So it's not on the server. I need to add this stuff that I made onto the server. So all we're gonna do is go back into it. I was already into it earlier. Not sure why I'm doing that. Here we go. Boopity boopity boop. Nice. All right. And what we want now is to make a new file. And because I'm not doing this on screen, here you go. The name of the file is going to be expand data. And then there you go. Boop. That's it. You could put this data file somewhere else, and they're always harping on me for not telling people that, but I like to keep things simple. So I'm telling you to make it in this format. That way you can save it in this same place as your prefabs file. Easy peasy. We're gonna go nonsense, chest, and cart. These don't matter. They're never referenced by anything. You can name them at will. So you don't have to be perfect, obviously, like this, I think, is how it actually should be. You're just gonna be better off if you, like, basically name these in a way that makes sense. For your own sake. Trust me. So I'm just gonna take this, and I'm gonna use it to make a new file. Real quick, here we go. We make our new file. And then, boom, expand data, nonsense chest, cart. And now I'm just taking this stuff from that, and I'm adding it to the server's files here. We'll just get this notepad thing to show up. Boom, there we go. Save it and confirm the save in the FTP browser. Boom. There we go. Now we need to wait a little moment. It's going to apply the data, yada yada. And in general, you want to keep these separated, because if you put this all in the same file, then, like, right now, for example, there's other people playing, right? So if I were to do that, it would kick them off, and it would, like, cause a bunch of problems. But as long as you keep the scripting you're doing really small, then people won't even notice. I only learned this recently, so people on Palm had to tolerate a lot of nonsense for a long time. But now we've added the data, right? So the data file exists. In theory, that means we can use our prefab script to call on that data and to override what's already in the chest. So here I've just opened it up in, hard to look at, white notepad. Tough. And we're just going to change this up a little bit because it's actually quite simple. All we have to do is get rid of the removing part and also change the name. So this is now going to be the nonsense chest poke. And remember what I said earlier, you want to copy and paste the poke names after you do it the first time. That's just going to guarantee you get it right. And you can use the same mentality for this part here, okay? And also, you don't have to use the same order. I like it because I can then say people love making pie, but you know, you could change it around. Max distance could be after, whatever, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Now what we need is to reference the name of the data that we just put on the server. And what was it? Well, again, this is a situation you should copy paste. Make sure not to use the checker because this doesn't have everything. You want to apply everything at first, but then when you're checking, use as little data as possible for the check. It's just smoother that way. So here's our basic file, and in theory, when we say nonsense, the chest is going to get poked, and then data is going to be applied to it, right? We can save this, and we can then open up our thing here and move it forward. Now we should just be able to turn this chest into a lovely little nonsense chest beta. Haha. 1 second. Let me I'm gonna remove that feature, sorry. So basically, it looks like, I didn't realize it, but from a long time ago, when the player logs out, sometimes wolves show up. And, well, the player logs out, they have no idea the wolves are there, and then they log back in, and then they just get ganked by the wolves, which is about to happen to my character. And I actually meant to fix that, I just hadn't. So, I'm sorry about that. I can give people mercy, though. Here we go. Maybe someone will help. Do you prefer help from a player or instant relief? From the wolf. Alright. Sorry about that. I just deal with that a little bit. Now I'll get back on track, though. So we should just be able to say the thing, and then it'll make this do a thing. But I feel a little bit nervous, because I don't want a boat to just spawn inside of this. So we're gonna take our time here. Oh, nonsense chest, empty. Oh, oh, yeah. Well, I can certainly tell there's enough of something in it that when I open, it does lag for a second. So, you know, maybe it's too much, but I'm not really sure. Let's see. Does this lag? To be honest. Not really. No. 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 Yes. See? So this is where maybe it's too intense, really. Maybe we do need to be more reasonable and keep it at something like 64. But instead of reducing it that much, I'm just going to reduce it down in staggers until it no longer produces that kind of noticeable lag when you open it. Because if it's lagging like this with blank data, I feel like probably it'll be worse with more in it, right? So in this case, let's test that out. So here we have our prefab script. That's not what we want. We want our data script, this one. And we set it at 128. So let's take it down to 96 and see how that goes. And that's probably fine for now. Let's save it. And we can just update the data on the server. And then as we do that, we'll just be able to repeat the thing and override the data of the existing nonsense chest. Because we haven't added any checks or filters or safety mechanisms. So right now it'll just override the nearest piece that matches that prefab. All right, so let's see. Yeah, the thing was a feature, but it's not really a purposeful feature. It happened when I was making the death notifiers, because the server like makes up a story about how the player died, right? And it says like where they died and that thing. When I did that, it was like, oh, and a wolf eats their corpse. And then at some point later, it was like, well, it would be more realistic if a wolf actually showed up, right? But obviously that's absurd. Let's see. All right, I'll be humorous. I'll help people out, and we can just do objects, remove, wolf. And one thing that's cool about Valheim is you can do stuff like this. And then just remove every single wolf on the entire server. And in a normal game, that would be very problematic. But, oh, I'm sorry, I would have just removed the tamed wolves too. Oh, that's no good. I can replace your tamed wolves. But basically, Valheim will recreate the wolves in the environments and everything. But I also just nerked everybody's tamed wolves on the server. So if you're here and you just send a message in Discord. And I'll deal with that after I finish this stream. But I want to make sure I stay on topic, so I'm just going to keep going. So basically, we're going to be working on this, but applying it down. We've applied the next data. So now let's go for another nonsense chest and see if we can reduce that lag a little bit. I should probably give some visual, but let's see. I don't know if it's actually working. So let's try it again. Okay, we definitely reloaded it there, right? And you can see there's that very obvious lag moment. So to be honest, I may just keep it that way, you know, because a little bit of lag like that, it's not the end of the world, really. If it saves going around and doing a bunch of stuff. Because it gets to a point, though, where if it's too small, like let's say I were to make it 40 or something, right? This is a lot smaller. The problem, though, is that it's so small that it might get full up faster. And I see what you mean, Star, about them not being as much as the ship. So I'm thinking about how to balance it, because realistically, this is something that is going to just be pretty much available to the player straight away. And if people know about it and use it, it'll be so convenient that pretty much everyone will start a base with that. And then you can like keep all your clutter in that one place, right? So in this case, I'm not completely convinced that I want to make it fair compared to the other mechanics. Because even the ship, for example, like, okay, this chest, that's cool. You can store a bunch of stuff, but you can't move it, you know? So would the chest really negate the value of the holer or the Barden? I'm not sure, to be honest. And for now, I think I'll probably just make it really big, and we'll see. But it's also possible that even just 40, you know, rows, you know, maybe that's enough. You know, maybe it doesn't need to be that big. And in this case, let's see. What if we just settle? Because you can see that it does, there's like a moment there, right? But that does work better. It's still a little bit laggy for me compared to these ones. Sorry to just do this so redundantly. But it like lags a little bit that first time it opens it up. And then it seems to be all right. So Ford says that he thinks that 64 should be plenty. And at the very least, only, yeah. So that's what I'm thinking, Ford. Like what Ford said is like each player, and not even each player, the server itself will only have one nonsense chest per radius. And that's actually, that's the other part I need to add to the script that's a little bit more complicated. So let's move to that now, because I think I can adjust this stuff later. It's not super important. For now, I want to get all of the mechanics in to this video that's like a live stream that people can watch to do this themselves, right? Because it's real time and done at the pace that they'd be able to understand. So I have a feeling it might be easier for people to learn this way. So we can see that we target the nonsense chest and it makes it something else. But what we need to do is make it work with different things. Right now, it just works with this, right? But what we want is it to work with other things as well. So in this case, we have a couple different containers. I'm going to make an example of all the different containers that the player can build. And then we're going to use that to add the rest of the missing prefabs. I'm just trying to find, yeah, the pots. So if they wanted to, just because this is going to be more interesting for the builders, all of the non-seasonal containers can also be turned into nonsense chests. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think these are all the containers the player can build. I think. Am I missing anything? Private, black marble, fine wood, that, barrel. And then, of course, there's the Yule Snap things, but these aren't always available. But I guess that doesn't really matter. That's not going to matter, right? Because the player can build it, and then if they want to make that a pretty looking one, I guess it's fine. So why not? Why don't we include these? They are containers. They're pretty. And maybe that'll be something builders appreciate. In general, builders seem to like as many options as possible. So it's just going to look at any one of these containers and do its thing, right? So let's do a little trick here. And I just want to find the name of the prefabs, but in a fast way. Oh, the cargo crates? I don't know. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I don't know how that'll work, though, because cargo crates have, like, physics and stuff. So I'm just going to stay away from making the car. They're also really like able to be destroyed, or like they could drop through the world. So I'm going to stay away from the movable things for now. And we're just going to stick with the static things. I'm pretty sure they'll work better. So let's see. What we will work on now. We just need to add all the prefab names. So I need to make a data save, and then this is going to be just random thing. Let's call it trash 1. And now we can look at the top left and see piece chest, right? So this one is piece chest. I'm just going to do that for this one. I'll do the other ones a bit faster because I think I know some of them. We're going to add it to this one area here, right, to make it target multiple prefabs. And then we're going to copy this and paste it to this here. And then that'll keep the link and make it apply to all the different chests. So here we have the fine wood, we have the regular wood. Now we can just target these pots, because I don't know what these ones are called, right? And we're going to name it a different data. And we get the name piece pot 3. Ah, that's great. So that means I can just do this, right? I'm going to do piece pot 1. Yeah, is that right? No, wrong format, an extra underscore. This should be fine, and no capitalization or anything. Nah, let's double check. Spawn piece pot, and then there you go. 1, 2, 3. Nice. There's also some other ones. We can't build them yet, though, so I guess they're deep north things. We have pot 1, pot 2, and pot 3, right? Here we go. So now, what about those presents? I don't know what the prefab name for these things is. Let's see. We have piece gift 1. Ah, interesting. So spawn. Let's see. Spawn. Nope. Spawn. Piece. Gift. Oh, easy peasy. Gift 1, 2, and 3. I love it. Easy. Let's take those and go back here. Gift 1, gift 2, gift 3. All right. So now we have most of these. And these are the kind of weird custom ones, so I'm going to keep those at the end. And I'm going to go back to where the more familiar ones are. And sometimes it's good just for your own sake to have them in like the logical order, you know? I found that helps understand things. So here we have the wooden chest. Then we have the fine wood chest, right? So what would be next? I guess the fine wood chest is in the same tier as the personal chest. And I think, I'm guessing here, this is bad. You don't want to do this. But I think it's piece chest private. Let's see. Spawn piece chest private. Yay! There we go. Piece chest private. Nice. There you go. So we have our personal chest. And what else do we have going here? This is where the visualizations are so great, right? What we're looking for is a barrel and the black metal chest. Those are the two I haven't done yet, right? Did that, those two. All right, these are the last two containers. Let's do it again. And this one is piece chest barrel, easy. And then this one is what? This one is piece chest black metal. Also easy, nice. All right. Ah, thank you, Star. Yes, I figured that out after a minute. Piece chest, and then, oh, but the format is like this? I think so. And then piece, chest, Not, oh no, I'm gonna do it properly. Alright, I talked about doing things properly. So peace chest private, and then peace chest black metal. And the other one is peace chest barrel, right? Peace chest barrel. Ooh, whoa, what did I do there? No, 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 no. There we go. So now we have this whole string of different things. And you could actually do this by targeting container itself, which is like the field they'll use. But then you're gonna enable the players to do some weirdness with some other, like, not normal containers. And right now, I'm not gonna do that. So this is gonna be an experimental thing here. And this is kind of boring. You know, in general, you don't want to just apply data. You want to make something happen. I guess in real life, it's called haptic feedback, right? When you touch something on your phone, it vibrates, right? You have to do the same thing in game design. If you just change something and you don't give like a visual indication, it's tough. Wow, I'm trying to line this up. It's tough. It's tough for them to figure out what's going on. So here what we'll do is find a visual effects. Let's see. Spawn VFX, I don't know, what's a cool thing? Maybe one of the blood things? Blood death? What's this? That's kind of lame, to be honest. I was thinking it was like a magical looking one. We have blood hit. Here we go. So these are from the blood weapons, but what about, I don't know, something with the nature magic, maybe? No, it doesn't work like that. All right, what about lightning? The Lightfoot thing. We could do that one. You know, honestly, that's a great one for this case. I think we're going to go with that one. It's actually from the potion. And I use it for other stuff, and it's going to cause a little bit of a conflict, but I don't think it's going to matter that much. So we're just going to roll with it. It's fine. All right, so yeah, we're going to spawn. Oh, not spawn. Spawns is this. Boom. Easy peasy. That will give us a visual indication in addition to the data changing, but it's just more fun, really. And honestly, sometimes you want to make it like it's better to go a little overboard than it is to not. Okay, so we're just gonna take this here, and now we're gonna paste it into our prefabs. Make sure you're not pasting into your data, because that's gonna cause a bunch of problems. And then we just do this thing here, boopity boopity boop, and then there we go. Nifty nifty. Just gotta wait a little bit to make sure that the script updates. And then, in theory, this is going to make a nonsense chest out of one of whatever one of those prefabs we're near. So, you may think that it would target all of them, and it would, but it's limited to one. So it'll only get one of them. Makes sense? And let's run it, see how it goes. Boom. Hey, that's now the nonsense. Oh, it's so funny. I don't know why, I just like, I like that. Now look at this, we got our nonsense chest. Pretty crazy, right? There's a little bit of clipping of the text here, but to be honest, I could change that. You want to see? Why not? Why not? Why don't we mess with the data a little bit? Because it's actually pretty easy. You see, this thing here actually is like a fully adjustable, I don't know what format it is. Is it CSS or HTML? I don't know. You can do stuff here. More so than just some text label or something. And what's actually happening is this is a whole text box. So if we want this to go up a little bit, we can probably remove or add something. So let's try padding it out a little bit. I'm going to change this data of this nonsense chest here by adding 2 to the data thing here. And that alone might be enough to pad the name up into the right place. But we're going to see. I'll move around a little bit. It should target a different chest now. Star says you could use the love potion FX. What is that one? It's like the troll potion, right? VFX. I don't remember what it's called. Spawn. Roll. Pheromone? Hey! Hey! Oh! Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I dig it. I dig it. I dig it. That is a cool one. I don't know why I didn't look at that before. Good recommendation. I like it. I like it. Here we go. Boom. Nice. All right. I'll apply that on the next update. But wait, what's up with that? Oh, it keeps like smoking. It's even better. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Interesting. I wonder how long it does that. Curious. So that could be fine. It depends. If I leave and come back and it's gone, it's fine. Actually, I guess it doesn't matter because it's not like they're going to get respawned over and over most of the time. But I might have to now think about how to delete that. But most of those visual effects that last, they last until a player leaves the area or logs out and then they disappear. So we're just going to roll forward and see. Ah, okay. Now that's the nonsense chest. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, wow. Maybe they should be both of them. Hey. What? Wait, what? Hey, I feel like it didn't land at all. Or it didn't lag at all. I'm wondering, though. Is this enough? Well, it's certainly enough to be useful. I guess I can always make it more. But why not? I don't know. Maybe it would be better to make it... Is it better to make the chest too big or too small? Like, which is the better mistake to make? For now, you guys can chew on that. I'm going to think about the checker because we need to move forward with the next part of this, which is obviously, well, now the players and anybody like on the server right now could be just doing this before I put in the checker. I'm not saying it matters if they do, you know, but it is kind of funny. In this case, we need to add a checker, and Ford suggests too small. Okay, I'll roll with it. So we're going to add our checker now because we need to limit this situation to only be able to happen if there isn't something done already, right? So this actually involves making multiple occurrences. And this is where I gotta like explain something, okay? In a lot of the scripting stuff, you have to think about making like a web. I guess here you go. I can do something very, very primitive and just show you this way. Okay, pretty much when you're making the scripts, you have to think about the different ways that things can go, right? Like you make these branching things in your mind, so to speak, and you have to be able to guess like, okay, what are the outcomes that the player can go through? So here's like the initial thing where one thing happens, and then here it's like, okay, they can do this or they can do that. Makes sense? And here it's like they can do this or that, right? That's like the way the logic works. And it can be really useful to think about that in situations like this, because basically I'm going to have all of this nonsense, right? And what I need to do is make it make more sense and make it a little bit more colorful. Let's go with the green. Yeah, nice little green. All right. I have to make the logic for this. So we have our logic shape. It always starts like this because you start with one option, the thing that's happening. So now what is going to occur? Well, let's start with one side of it. On this side of the situation, there is not a nonsense chest yet. So a nonsense chest will get produced. What else can happen? Well, the other option is that there is a nonsense chest. So we just have a basic two-option outcome here, right? This is going to be important in our script because we need to make a communication for the player, because otherwise they're going to think it's broken. Anytime they try and do something and nothing happens, they assume it's broken or not working. So you have to make it do something so that they know, oh, okay, I did this wrong. And that's a great chance to message the player with like a clear instruction about it. So I'll probably show you RPC calls to do that, but we'll see. For now, it's applying the data. We added all these things, and what we're working on is the limiter. And we're going to work on, let's say, the left side of the fork. We need to make this outcome, which is when it does work, let's say. It doesn't really matter, left or right, whatever. And it's going to work if there is not a certain thing. And we can use something called banned objects. And what it's going to do is look for basically any of these that has the data of nonsense chest. Make sense? But in this case, to simplify it, we can probably target the actual prefab itself. For I think it's container. And this is going to target anything. And the reason we want to do that is because we don't care that much about the container itself. What we care about is the data of that thing. Make sense? But this is the wrong format. We need the name, and then we need the distance that it's banned by. So when the player says nonsense, there cannot be a nonsense chest within, let's say, 200 meters. All right. And the format for this is the container, the prefab you're banning, the distance it's looking for, and the data if you want to specify this. But this would make it not work with any chest anywhere. This would, in theory, I'll have to check, make it not work just if there's a nonsense chest nearby. But I don't know if this is going to work perfectly, because I don't know if I'm using this correctly here. So we're going to have to try it. I'm just going to take this, and basically, nothing's going to happen, but I'm not going to get a visual that nothing happened. You see why that's no good? That's where the other part of the logic comes in. Let's call it the orange side here. We need to create the circumstance that happens when the player tries this, right? But the thing's not there. So it's very similar, actually. We go up here, and we're just going to start it this way. But instead of banned objects, we're going to do objects. Makes sense? So this is only going to happen when there is a nonsense chest. Makes sense? Because typically when you filter things like this, you have to then make a whole copy of it that handles the situation where it doesn't occur, right? Because it can occur or no. So you need to double the circumstances. So here we have the player saying nonsense, and this will only activate if there is a container within 200 meters that says nonsense chest, right? And maybe you want to mess with this a little bit so one number is bigger and smaller, but whatever. I don't think it's going to matter in this case. I'm going to keep it simple and leave it like this. However, notice that we're looking at the nonsense chest data still. I don't know if you remembered, but I made this nonsense chest checker, right? And the funny thing is here, this is already out of date. You know, it's messed up. And the moment you change any of this, it's also messed up, right? So we could, if we wanted to, just check for something like this. Instead, I just deleted the nonsense chest part. Instead of checking for the container height, which apparently is going to be adjustable, I should change something that I should check for something that isn't going to change, which is this random number that I just added here. So the nonsense chest checker will look for this, which gets applied by our tomfoolery in our prefab file. Here we are. Nonsense chest checker. Nonsense chest checker. In general, when you're using these, you want to use simplified data. It's going to work more reliably. It's a good habit, okay? So now there's an outcome for when the player says nonsense, and there is a container that has the nonsense chest data already. So in this case, nothing is going to happen, but we do need something to occur. The player needs to be warned that there's already a nonsense chest here. So in this case, we're going to use an RPC call, and conveniently, we're already in the player prefab. What I'm about to show you can only be done in or under, so to speak, the player prefab. And I actually don't remember this one by heart. So I'm just going to copy it from a script I already have that uses it, which we're going to find one that has messaging. Let's see, the blacksmither. No messaging there. Force reset protection. Here we go. We're just going to take what we need basically out of this script because somewhere along here, oh no, these are commands. Nah, that's no good. That's not what we want. We want the actual message. So here we go. The magic aggroer. This has what we're talking about. Here we go. RPCs to add noise. I think there's an RPC to message, isn't there? I'm using it from the other place. Yeah, so it's kind of like this, except it's something else. The messages aren't that complicated. I just don't remember the exact syntax for it. So I want to make sure that it works properly. We can probably use the Diverger Calmer. Here we go. There's a heal. We're looking for a message to the player. No, the Diverger Calmer doesn't work because it's all command stuff. I normally make it show up in the server. So I'm really struggling to find an example of this, even though I know... here we go. I'll just use the quest. Here we go. There it is. Here it is. Yeah. So if you're real fancy, you'll learn this stuff. Boom. And then you won't have to struggle like I just did. You see? And don't worry about all these numbers. All you care about is this one here. This is the delay for how long it takes for it to show up. And we're going to make it 0. It's going to be immediate. And it's going to tell the player there is already a nonsense chest nearby. Oh, within 200 meters. Boom. There you go. Fancy. Easy, right? 200 meters. Within 200 meters, we tell the player they tried to build it. They get a message. Boom. We're going to add a little bit of stuff here because these don't stay around very long. So just so the player has a better chance of absorbing the message, we're going to make it occur again, you know, a little bit. And actually also a third time. And this is just because, you know, you really want to make sure they notice. Sometimes they won't see it. It just goes there and goes away and they look away in that moment. It goes away quite quickly. So this is probably fine. The player will say nonsense. It notices, hey, this is nearby, so just give them a message. Doesn't do anything. Whereas in the other situation, the player says nonsense, and it looks to make sure, hey, there's not one of these, right? There isn't, so it performs the poke and then makes the thing work. So now that we've changed multiple things without testing them, you know, let's put them in the script, not in the data script, in this one here, and we're going to just copy and paste it like that. We have our checker, right, which we already saved, I do believe. You generally want to save the data first, right? In this case, I already saved the data, so we're good. Now we can go back into Valheim. And let's see. While I wait for this, I'll look at this. So forward says too small is better because too big can cause lag in a worst case scenario. Okay. Star says too small means can't read, but I suppose it doesn't matter so much because we can still see what it's called at. It's funny how you both interpreted it differently. So I wasn't saying too small for this thing. I was saying too small for the amount of excess here, right? And what's interesting here, didn't this one get turned? Why is it now like that? I guess I didn't apply the data. I'm curious about that. The other ones are turned fine, right? Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, let's run the next one and see how it goes. Boom. Oh, look at that. I tried to get nonsense, but there's already a nonsense chest. And look at that. I don't think it even stays on the screen long enough. We're going to make it stay on the screen longer. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. I think this is probably fine. Almost doubling it. You see what I mean, though? They disappear so quickly. They grow up so fast, these little RPC coals. All right, there we go. Are we updated? Let's see. Boom. Yeah, okay. So here we are. Let's say nonsense. There we go. There's already a nonsense chest within 200 meters. Boom. Look at that. Easy peasy. So now that we know that that works, I'm pretty sure the other one is going to work as well. So now what we want to do is add a little bit more shouting, pretty much. We want players to advertise to other players that this is a mechanic. So when it succeeds, we want a chat message to show up. Yeah? So in that case, what we want to do is go to the success area. And for our eye's sake, I'm going to go back to this. It really is better. I get why programmers like dark screens now, to be honest. And we're going to just do one command. It's a server shout, which is S. And now we're going to do pname in brackets. This will say the player's name. Let's see. What's a funny way to say they activate their nonsense chest? I guess activate their nonsense chest is pretty funny. Creates their own nonsense chest, or creates a nonsense chest. I like the idea of this one, actually. Activates their nonsense chest. But if any of you come up with a better one, just tell me. I'm not convinced on what I'm doing here. So they're going to do that. Let's see. At this point, I can probably get away with a little bit more scripting without testing it. So basically, they're going to try and do it. They can make a nonsense chest. Any chest can become a nonsense chest. It has a certain amount of stuff in it. In this case, well, it won't work, right? So what if I get rid of all of the nonsense chests? Is it going to work? Let's see. We got this. Anything else? Maybe that's everything. Let's see. Nonsense. All right, so there's already a nonsense chest within 300. And you know, I can already tell we probably need it to strike the nonsense chest visually with something really obvious. Because, I don't know, I removed nonsense chests, right? But apparently not, because something is still nearby labeled nonsense, you know? Where is it? I don't know. I don't know. Ah, maybe it's this incineration bin from earlier? Hard to tell, to be honest. Hard to tell. Let's make it test and show the player. That's going to be better. All right, so this does the activation. That's when it succeeds. We have that. What we also need to do is make the failure target with a new poke. So instead of targeting the chests and making them nonsense chests, we're going to toll it or change the name to a nonsense chest poke or nonsense chest finder poke. Okay? With these names, it's good to be very descriptive. It helps make your script easier to understand. It's like a built-in comment, basically. And I'll get into commenting later, but for now, I'm just showing you this development. Obviously, you would do well to do this, you know? It's really good to do that, okay? So we have this going on. Now we need to make the other part of this. And because it's so much further, and there could be multiple, I don't know why, but there's no reason to limit it in this case. We're going to make it 10, and the maximum distance is going to be 200. And it's called the nonsense chest finder poke. So for now, let's copy this here. Because once you've made something once, right, you don't need to do it more. And actually, we're also going to do this. This almost has everything we need, to be honest. So we can just place it right here. There we go. This is our nonsense chest finder poke. Boom. So this activates this. It'll target 10 of them within 200 meters. Let's do 200 and, I don't know, maybe even 201. That's fine. And now we have all of these. They get targeted. But here, it's going to apply the data. We don't want that. We actually want it to filter. So it only works if it's the nonsense chest, right? So we're going to change it from data to filter. And then instead of nonsense chest, it's going to be nonsense chest checker. And now we need a really obvious visual effects. You know, I'm still worried about that one. It hasn't removed itself. But let's find something interesting. So spawn VFX, what, lightning? That was what I was looking for before. I use this one a lot. This one here, boom. I think it looks cool. It's kind of got a thing to it though. It's not very, it goes at an angle, see? And what we're gonna do is do something else. Not that one. I guess we could try FX. This is actually the one I use. Yeah, because it has a little sound effect. But in this case, we don't want that. Because it's not really obvious enough. So let's look for something really, really obvious. Like maybe fader spin? I mean, that's big, but it doesn't give an obvious central location. So not a really good one. Maybe a fader corpse explosion? Oh, hey. Ah, we figured it out. All right, that's it. That one's big. Nice, nice, nice. So we're actually going to use both of them because I like the sound effects. So in that case, we're going to go with the first one. Not the first one, but this FX one here. Boom. And then that one's just going to go like that. Boom. And if we're lucky, these don't have any damage to them. So pretty much, it's going to target those and let us know exactly where they are. That's the basics of it. If I wanted to, I could add something else, but for now, I think it's okay. Because the player can just keep saying it and make the thing show up again. So this is going to allow the player to find it. But at this point, honestly, the script is too long to not have comments like this. So I'm going to take this moment to actually do this properly. So it starts by the check, the outcome, let's call it. Outcome. Nonsense chest already present. Right? That's what it does. Okay? And then this poke helps find the present chest, right? Like that. Boom. And then this is the outcome where the nonsense chest is not present. Success. So we're going to call this the success outcome. Okay? And we're going to call this the fail outcome, just for some clarity. Right? So we have that label, we have this, and now we have this poke, which is the successful outcome. And because it's right here, I'm just going to keep it like this. I don't think it needs that much extra labeling. Now we're going to take this whole script and paste it back into this spot here. And let's see, I actually copied too much. I also copied the data from earlier. And we do not want all of that. So we're going to get rid of that extra stuff down there. And this should be good. Let's get rid of this extra space up here, just in case. All right, so there we go. We have saved it. Now I need to refresh the file. All right, it's now refreshing. I heard a little beep-de-boop, so let's see what's going on there. Player chunks loot into their nonsense chest. Yeah, that is kind of cool. So that's like if they're using it though, right? Well, at least for that context. Let's see. Okay, so let's see what happens now. Oh, okay, it says... Okay, where is that? It's up there? Oh, that's hilarious. Well, this definitely works as a way of finding the chest. Look at that little bastard. I forgot about him. Yes. Oh, look at that. He's right there. Isn't that hilarious? So now we can just use it, right? Just get rid of that. And then what happens? I'm going to test something, actually. What happens? So I'll need to clear the stuff that I'm testing here so I don't mess my playthrough up. But let's find something that already has a little bit of something in it and see how it goes. Because in theory, we should be able to... Let's put some stuff in it and see what happens if you use it. Boom. Nonsense chest. Oh, that is so cool. Oh, I love that visual effects. I love it. And we open it. What's going on here? Oh, look at that. It keeps the items. Very interesting. Very interesting. And now what? We try and use it? Yeah, there we go. Honestly, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Oh, I know what I should do. Well, if they're private, I mean, this is bad, right? Being able to just find it, right? Maybe they don't want that. So that's actually very easy to fix. All we have to do is remove the private prefab from this poke here. So if we just take this out, that is going to stop it from activating. That was enough, but just for the sake of simplicity, we're also going to remove it here. So this way, it won't work on that particular chest. Because for the private chest, that's probably better. It'll make it harder to find when people lose it. But, you know what I mean. Otherwise, it's not really a private chest in it, because anybody can use this thing. So we want to make it so that it works and is actually useful for people, right? So did the message work? Let's see. Overeager Jarl activates their nonsense chest. Cool. Interesting. Interesting. An empowered Verger Aslan just became empowered near Norden. That's pretty funny. I love the empowered system. It's been fun. All right, so we have... This script has really come along, to be honest. Is it done? Wait. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I'm going to do the cart thing, but that's actually going to be really easy now that we've done all this. So we added the different kinds of things. The player can try and do it. Nothing's going to happen. Let's get rid of this nonsense chest, and I'm going to try and make this a nonsense chest. So it can become a nonsense chest. But then if I say nonsense, I should get a warning, but no prefab will go boop boop. Ah. Oh, because the warning... What did I do here? Oh, did I not copy it in? I see. Yeah, I haven't saved removing that. But let me think about that for a moment. Okay, the player will activate the message no matter what. But then the poke, which causes this to happen, won't happen. Okay, it just didn't work because I hadn't saved it. So in theory, after I let it save for a moment, now when I use nonsense, it's not going to show us where the nonsense chest is, but it is going to say there isn't one here. Hey, oh, holy moly, look at that. We got a completed script. Yeah, look at that. And what did it take? Let's see, what's our time at here? We're at 1 hour, 24 minutes. Well, what a short little script writing session, right? I swear, in my head, this was a 10-minute video, but obviously live scripting is more complicated than that. And I don't think that fast. I just think I think that fast. So now I want to clean up a little bit because most of this testing is done. And I don't want to mess up Lab Rat, my other character's playthrough, by just leaving a bunch of stuff here that isn't needed. So I'm going to export my inventory, if that makes sense. We do have this Ultra Cart that was already there. That's already there. That's fine. That's other stuff. Okay, everything's fine for now. And I'm going to turn this on. Ooh, so I can move around. I have all this nonsense. Black marble. Why do I have all this black marble? Did I take that from something? I never spawned any black marble, did I? Did any of the chests, are they made with black marble? Ah, and there's this thing too. That's right. Alright, yeah, I gotta get rid of this thing too. Take all these real quick. And there's one way that you can get rid of stuff really easily. You can just sort of chuck it in the ocean. And then it despawns because it's under a certain amount of stuff. And if it doesn't despawn, you can just force delete it when it floats to the top. Boom, no more. Yeah, no more temptation for Lab Rat. Alright, so now we're going to move on. Made the script that works for this, and we need to apply this same mechanic for these nonsense things to the Sunken crypt. Because the idea here is that the crypts are just insane, right? Like, we can get a crypt key, right? Key, get our crypt key, open it up. There's just so much loot in these places. It's absolutely bonkers. Look at that. That didn't work at all. So I'm gonna respawn this just... Whoa, what? Ah, okay, I see. So as you can see, sometimes it gets a little gnarly, and in that case, the player would just build, boom, and then it respawns. Crazy, right? And now this time, in theory, you can see it didn't perfectly respawn, but boom, boom, and there we go. This time it worked fine. See? So you can just re-roll them if you really want to. But the idea is that you get a lot of loot out of this place. There's loads of iron and other things that are customized in Path of Magic. Surtling cores, all sorts of treasure. You get a lot of material, all sorts of things that you're not used to getting. And they're also much harder than you're used to. So that's been the Sunken Crypt experience. And I've been playtesting it myself. And the thing that gets to me, that makes it not as fun and also more boring for streaming, is that looting it just takes forever. Like, absolutely takes forever. So instead, what I'm gonna try and do is make it so that we can summon something that lasts a long time. I'll show you in a moment. One second. I'm running out of energy, but I want to do this properly. So we're going to do the example twice. So I need 400 coins. There we go. Here's how it already works on Path of Magic. You can summon carts inside dungeons. I'm going to show you the most basic cart with 200 coins. You go up, toss 200 coins on the floor, and say buy. And boom, you get a cart. This makes looting the dungeon easier. Unfortunately, it's so little that really it doesn't fix the problem that well. But as you can imagine by what we were just developing, now the idea is to make it so any cart summoned inside a dungeon automatically becomes this kind of storage. And theoretically, because it's up in the dungeon, they can't bring it down. Make sense? So what we're going to do is basically take the data from this cart here, and it's probably identical. So I'm not even going to take the data from the cart. I'm just going to make a script that targets the cart, right? But this is going to be an automatic script. It's not going to be something they activate with a say command, because I can just make any cart that gets summoned have this happen, right? So that is going to be even simpler than this that we've been working with. So now I'm going to tab that out a little bit, and I'm going to start with good practice. What is the comment? What are we doing? Well, we're making the nonsense cart dungeons only, right? And basically, anytime a certain prefab, What prefab? The cart. So anytime a prefab cart is spawned, which means type create, then we're going to apply the data, the nonsense chest. You see? Pretty easy. Except in this case, we're going to change the data a little bit, and we're going to make it nonsense cart. And in general, it's good to do the data first, and it's quite simple here. So let's take this and adjust it again, and we're going to make this nonsense cart, right? Easy peasy. And here, 40 to 7. I mean, this one could be even smaller, to be honest, and still be useful. I feel like probably even just 20 is totally fine for the crypt looting situation. And maybe it'd be better to make it a bit less laggy, right? And then here we just have nonsense cart, right? Pretty easy. We have our buffering there. I didn't actually check, but in theory, when we made that most recent nonsense chest, it actually changes the thing here. So let's do it again. When we open it, you see the text is tabbed too far up. So now we need to buff it back down again, which probably means that we need to add maybe one less of these. Probably it'll be fine just like this. Makes sense? So we're going to try and keep that in mind. Let's look at the cart real quick. So the cart, it's kind of the same, right? Looks like it's similar. So we're going to keep the same format. We have the nonsense cart here. And it's a little bit different. It's smaller, right? But that's okay. And we, honestly, I don't think there's any reason to do all the checking for the nonsense carts. As I mentioned, this is going to be an automatic thing. So the player will summon a cart, and then that cart will automatically turn into a nonsense cart. So the player can use the pre-existing system to summon the cart. And it's only going to happen in a dungeon. So really all I have to do to show you, I get that it's crazy, but this is actually the script. Like, it really is almost that simple. This would make all carts nonsense carts when they're created. So we don't want that. Instead, what we want is one more value called min y. Y is pretty much the height. And in Valheim, they do a little trick where when you go into a dungeon, right, you aren't getting teleported some random place. You're getting teleported like way up in the sky, right? And I can show you literally if I just go POS and then I go to, and then let's see, 906, 3, 4, 8, 5. This is the X and the Y. And then we have, or sorry, this is the X and the Z. So now we have the Y, and let's make it a little bit higher to show you some trippy nonsense, right? Boom, look at that. Hey, we are actually on top of the dungeon. Because the dungeon itself just floats up in the sky, hopefully, within this thing called a environment box. See that? You can see all sorts of other nonsense because the dungeons, they all end up in a similar situation. Like, what is all this? It looks like there's like trash from previous respawns, right? What's this? This is another dungeon, right? And you can see the end boxes. This looks like it's some leftover scrap from another one, you know? So I never thought about checking all of this stuff. But you can see that you end up with all of these different dungeons, right? And we're like right above it. So if I were to go down here, and then basically I'll just go back to where I was, except this time we're going to go below it. And I'm going to turn off fly, and you're going to get the point, right? Basically, we're going to go over here, and look at this. You can literally just fall out of the sky. That's where the dungeon is. And it's so far up in the sky that it doesn't really have to deal with all the other stuff, right? And then you're falling, and look at that. Boom, that's the world tree. And the game noticed that I did something. I honestly don't know what just happened. I got deleted, which is really funny, to be honest. That's actually quite funny. Yeah, I got deleted. So I have to log out and log back in to recreate my existence. I was just trying to show you that the dungeons go up into the sky. And the reason that's relevant is because we can just make a very simple filter here. So this only happens if the minimum Y value is 4,000. There's no mountain high enough for that. So this will only occur to a cart that is created up above at that height. It's quite simple. So now we're actually just going to add this to the bottom of our other script here. So we're just going to go down, and it's just so simple because we've already done everything else that we really don't have to worry anywhere near as much about the work. So there we go. We have this set up, and now we should be able to just open it up. Let me log back in here. Ford says, okay, please look at my dungeon. It's so right now. There are about 40 charred skeletons in my dungeon. Is this normal? Well, it depends on the color of the flame. There are these things called charred sunken crypts. So 3% of the time a sunken crypt is spawned, it could become a charred crypt. In which case, yeah, there will be a lot of charred monsters in there. But if it's blue and there's like 40 charred skeletons, that's weird. The charred skeletons, they are in the crypts. They are. Yeah, it's true, but they're the summoned ones. So they're not as strong as you think. They're mostly scary, and they one-hit you with that freaking bullet rock. I swear, when I was in Ashlands, that rock didn't seem so fast. But those guys, it's so fast. It's like a bullet. They really slap us around. Alright, so it looks like we are pretty much good. I have the main two features set up. Let's go back here and spawn coins. We're going to spawn 200 coins. Well, it sounds like you just got unlucky with the spawners, to be honest. If you want, I can reset the sunken crypts. That would fix it. So you have to go outside, though. Oh, wait, is it outside? Or all of them outside or in the dungeon? So if they're in the dungeon, I can just reset their sunken crypts. And resetting it will deal with your situation. But I'll do something else as well. Basically, sometimes there's a problem with spawners. If that makes sense, they accumulate. So we can remove... okay, you've died a bunch there. Well, I won't reset it then, because that would delete the tombstones. So in this case, what I can do, though, is something like this. Spawner... Shard. And then this, I guess. Nah, let's not be silly. How do I do this right? I guess I can remove them that way. I might be able to. 1 second, let's see. Could just go. Where are you, Ford? I could come see what's going on. I don't know exactly the coordinates, but here also I forgot about the boat from earlier. This is why I try and do work on a test server, because on a test area, otherwise I end up leaving like a bunch of trash, basically. It's not ideal. I think I cleared most of the trash in this case. So yeah, I can help you out for it in a moment, but first I'm going to finish this. All I need to do is test it. So I should be able to go up into the dungeon here and then make another one like this. Boom, just like that. And now it might work. Whoa, let's see, that did not work. Yeah, see, sometimes that kind of stuff happens and you just get screwed, right? Like, I must have put the coins in at an angle or some kind of weird nonsense. So let's set this up and go to 200 coins, right? I guess I can just make 3 coin piles. Boom. There we go. All right, now we go back up here. And I wasn't even able to see what happened there. But as you can see, we just encountered a problem because I'm pretty sure that cart just fell out of the sky. So if we go near it, what's going to happen here? Is there just like some cart chilling somewhere? That's... You see how that would be a problem later? I'll have to make something that destroys the cart. To be honest, I don't know how to reason with that, but for now we're just gonna take our coins. 99. Oh yes, because I have no creator on, so it did not make enough of them, but now it will. Nice. Okay. So now we have enough coins. We can go back in. And this time, supposedly, I'll get lucky and it'll actually work. I've summoned a lot of carts and they never fell through the ground that way. So I think I must have landed the coins in some kind of weird position. Hey, all right. And what's here? Empty storage. Hey, look at that. Nothing happened. So this is a normal cart. Why is that? Well, I have a feeling something called trigger rules is set to true. It's this thing. Trigger rules. Except it's not with this script. It's with the other script. So I need to open the cart that allows players to summon... Sorry, I need to open the script that allows players to summon the cart, which is actually the floor trading script. So here we go. We're lucky because floor trade is a smaller file, whereas the Diverger Traders is a huge file. So here we're gonna just search for cart, and we don't care as much about this, but probably it should happen to all carts that are summoned above a certain height. So we're gonna enable that by adding this trigger rules true to all of the summonable carts. That's the ultra cart, and then there's the super cart. Let's see, super cart right here, super cart, right? So that one's right above, but we're gonna go here, boom, trigger rules, and then we're looking for a normal cart, right? Which is probably just right above this. Purchases a cart for 200 coins. Yeah, so here, there we go. Now, all of these are gonna set trigger rules. And this, in theory, that is gonna fix our problem. Because by default, when you spawn things using EWP, they won't trigger other scripts unless you set that. It's just a way to make it harder to create infinite loops. But you can see that this time, we actually got the disconnection icon in the top left. And that's because this is a bigger file that I just refreshed. The scripts we've been working on are pretty small, so you didn't see it. But this time, it was noticeable. And now, in theory, you know, we'll actually be able to make this work. So let's get rid of these carts, just because they're taking up space and it's going to get all clippy. I'm also going to get rid of a bunch of other stuff. I'll reset this place, so I'm not too worried about it. And what we want to do is basically go through and I suppose, really, all I need is to just spawn it, right? All right. Yeah, it sounds like Ford found the... There's been a problem somewhere with a loop that I created in the logic. So it can make something overspawn, basically. So, here we go. Alright, there we go. Now we're going to summon it, and in theory, it's going to work. Let's see. Do this, and then summon it, and let's see. Bye. Boom. And what happened? Oh, here we go. We have a problem, right? It's just a normal cart. So what's going on here? Well, in this case, it looks like we have to open up the debugging because I don't actually know what's going on. I will come and see the thing for it, but this is like a live stream to make a video about the scripting, and I'm gonna get distracted when I come and help you with that. So I already know the issue because it's happened to me a couple times. There's some kind of situation where there's a loop and it spawns like loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of stuff. So I'll figure it out, but for now I need to figure out this cart thing. So basically, we're gonna go to the server host here. And what I'm gonna do is try and make sure, how do I do this? Ah, yeah, I log in down here. I'm just gonna log in real quick. And then I probably have a typo somewhere, I would assume. And I haven't actually showed you how to deal with those typos or how to find them. So it's probably good for me to do that before I run out of energy here. Alright, so I'm opening up the console and I'll show that now. Alright, here we go. So what I need to look for is some kind of error message. This is just the notifier system, and here we go. Nope, everything's working. Interesting. Well, in that case, why would the cart not get the data applied? I guess, here we go. Data, dump, or let's do save equals, what's this cart, right? All right, so now let's open up our data again here. We need to exit this, boom, open this. And what's happening? Let's look and see what's going on here, because maybe there's a different field for the container. In this case, we don't have the field, so we need to do the same command again. But this time, we're going to change it. Instead of data save, we're going to do data dump. That gives you every field that it has. Make sense? Now we can exit this out and grab the data again. And then we'll see exactly what it is. And what do we have here? Now we have everything. Look at all this. So what's going on here is we probably need to now build the data out of this instead of what we were doing before. And we're going to identify just the pieces that we need, right? And in our previous data, this here, the nonsense cart, right? We have container height and container width. Is that something present here? Let's see, we have container height and container width. So these two, yeah, they're there, right? So that seems to be fine. What I'm thinking might be it is maybe it has something to do with the container names. They're not getting applied properly. Maybe. Let's see, container. Yeah, because there is no container M name, right? Or at least not in that section. Let's see, it would be down here in the strings. So you can see container M name. Okay, that's the cart storage thing, right? Interesting, interesting. So it should just work, though. That's what's kind of weird. There's another way we can check, actually. I can just apply this data. Makes sense? So basically this, I'm going to try and just brute apply it with the client instead of the server, right? So I'm going to save. Wait a second, and then data load equals, and then it's going to be the nonsense cart. Ah, interesting, interesting. So look at this. The nonsense cart worked. So why didn't it work when I spawned it? What's that about? Let's see, I must have something going on. Let's spawn a cart. Hey, and now it worked? What the heck? What's this about? Why did you keep your data? Oh, did I just not wait long enough? Very peculiar, to be honest. Let's see. It's totally possible I didn't do that. Let's see. I'm gonna grab the coins and then spawn it again, and maybe it'll just work this time. I mean, maybe I'm being optimistic here, but one second. I'll explain that later. One second. Alright, say bye, and... Ooh, didn't even show up this time. Ah, yeah, I didn't put the right amount of coins. Classic. Alright, 200 coins. Boom, done. Hey! Oh, and now it's working. Alright, so I think basically what I need to do here is just add one last piece to the script. Sorry to go all over the place on you there. Here we go. Here's the script. And we're going to add one thing, and it is this weight. Because maybe what was happening is it was getting trumped by something else. So we're going to make it so whenever a card is created, no matter what, up here, it is going to get turned into a nonsense cart. And that way, the players can use the existing mechanisms with the 200 coins, and they can just summon a nonsense cart that way. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So here, I'll just, I guess, leave this in here for now. And we'll get rid of it, actually. I'll try one more time. Because I want to really make sure that this stream shows everything necessary to do this. Make sense? Spawn coins, 200. Boom. Nice, nice. Alright, so now let's toss it one more time. 200. 200. And then boom, there we go. Say bye. They're gonna clip. I don't think it matters because I just need to see if it gets labeled. Boom, nonsense cart. All right, awesome, fantastic. There you go. Now you have it. That's how you develop for Expand World prefabs things on. Wow, I forgot how to speak. That's how you develop Expand World prefab things on your server. Pretty awesome, right? I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching another episode of The Path of Magic. All of the crazy nonsense that you've been seeing so far has been done with Expand World Prefabs. Expand World Prefabs is a fantastic server-side BepInEx mod developed by Yair. And if it wasn't for Yair's hard work, none of this would be possible. So I strongly encourage you to support Yair if you can. And if you're interested in supporting my work, there's two ways that you can do so. By getting your own dedicated Valheim server at Zap Hosting. I've got lots of tutorials showing you how to set everything up, and it doesn't even take that long. All you'll need to do is go to the link in my description, zaphosting.com/jpvalheim. That'll get you set up with the BepInEx server straight away, and then you just need to change a couple config files, and I have all of the information that you need for that. The second way is to support me on Patreon, and you can just check out the link in the description below if you're interested in doing that. I understand that some of you might want to support me, but, you know, you're not going to get a server to do so, so here you go. Now you have a way to do it. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to see you in the next episode of The Path of Magic. Bye-bye.